Okay, I know my skin is getting worse and you probably don't want to look at it, and I probably should have waited until this all went down and disappeared into the ether, but I've seen way too many movies. I've seen way too many new movies. I've seen way too many new Oscar contending movies, so I'm just gonna go at it. I don't give a shit. It's not like I used to look really good and now this acne's ruining everything. No, it's just a bit more of shit on top of some shit. It's just there was shit and now there's more shit. Whatever. Okay, so 20th Century Woman. I really wanted to see this movie just because of the cast. I don't know who the guy who plays the teenage boy in the movie is. I've never seen him before. I could honestly, I could care less about Billy Crudup, but it's got Annette Bening in it. It's got Greta Gerwig in it, and it's got who I personally kind of hate for no reason whatsoever, Elle Fanning in it, and I think all three of them are absolutely great actresses. I think, well, Annette Bening, we don't even need to talk about her. It's just, as long as she's not doing a really over-the-top Oscar-contending acting shtick that she does, like in American Beauty or something, she's really good. She's really good at being subtle. And Greta Gerwig is basically the good version of Lena Dunham. So, and if you really think about it, if Lena Dunham was good, it would be great, but she's not, and Greta Gerwig is, so there you go. And Elle Fanning, I cannot believe she's actually the same age as me. It kind of pisses me off. It makes me very insecure about my life, but goddamn, she's good. She's really good, so that's why I want to see it. And it's directed by and written by Mike Mills, the guy who made The Beginners. It was a pretty good movie back in the day, and I really see a lot of potential in him. Already I'm seeing like the Annie Hall era Woody Allen, level of writing and developing character arcs. And I feel like he's gonna make like the modern day version of Annie Hall, at least quality wise, he's gonna make the modern day version of Annie Hall. I don't think this is that movie, but it's pretty damn good still. What's the movie about? It's about five very distinctive characters. This teenage boy, his mom, this chick who lives in the apartment. She's redheaded. She listens to the Talking Heads and Black Flag and a bunch of other like post-punk, proto-punk, punk, hardcore punk bands in the late 70s. So this is like pre-Henry Rollins era of Black Flag. There's Elle Fanning, who's kind of this really exciting, rebellious, book reading, poetry reading, really cynical about marriage and love type of teenage girl who's probably really into second wave feminism, and she probably thinks that the female orgasm represents the oppression of expression in women or something. And you got Billy Crudup, who's just kind of this dude walking around the house living there, and it's set in the late 70s, the days of second wave feminism and punk rock and another wave of a new culture, and Jimmy Carter doing speeches on TV, and the pre-Ronald Reagan era of America. And, and basically it's 1979, so it's just about that year where it's just near before where everything that the late 70s was building up to will all fade away. It's gonna be new wave pop music instead of punk and all that shit. It's gonna be Reagan instead of Carter. And at first I thought this was gonna be a very basic movie when it comes to the theme, because at first, Annette Bening's character calls Elle Fanning's character and the Gerwig character, and she asks them to teach his son, the main boy character guy, to become a man by learning more about women. And this sounds very similar to one of my favorite movies of all time, Tootsie. That movie's basically about Dustin Hoffman's character learning more, learning how to be a better man by becoming a woman and learning more about women. And it's a very deep idea, and I thought, Tootsie did it really well. I'm not really sure what this film can really add to it. And as the film really goes on, it clearly is not that theme. It really just expands more to cover much more personal topics, and at the same time, much more universal topics, much more timeless topics. And I'll say this right away, this film out of all of them, and I have not seen Moonlight yet. I'll say that right here, right now. I'll be watching Moonlight next week because it's coming to Korea next week. So outside of Moonlight, I feel like this might be one of the most personal films of 2016. It feels really personal. It's like it just gets so close to how they live and how they feel. There's so many really intimate close-up shots, and there's these great shots where it zooms into certain characters, and when the character's alone, it zooms out, just emphasizing how lonely these characters are. It's really good when it comes to visual storytelling. Mike Mills understands that the camera is part of the storytelling element. The camera in itself is a character. He understands that, so he uses it almost as much as the dialogue to emphasize atmosphere, mood, character development processes, and all that. And here's the thing, I don't think the film is about an end of an era, although it seems to kind of have certain comments on it. I don't think it's necessarily about motherhood or sexual awakenings, although it does have, certain comments on it as well. I think it's mainly about misery and confusion and, realizing certain things, and that nobody is immune from it. Nobody's immune from learning more. Being miserable and being confused. Not the mother who's lived enough, but even still, sometimes she can't handle certain things. Not the young adult who's free and listening to punk rock and does a lot of quirky photography. Even she's not immune to it. Not the teenagers who technically probably doesn't know about life enough to really judge things in general. No matter what age you are or what gender you are, you can still be weak. You can still be confused, and because nobody has the answers to life, that's probably gonna be happening till the end of time. And because nothing happens as we expect it to be, no matter how smart you are, no matter how wise you are, you're still gonna be, you're never gonna be immune to misery or unexpected and at times almost inconsequential things that happen to really just make you sad. And I'll get to the screenplay later, but I feel like the acting is really where it's at, because you need to emote that. You need to emote that confusion and misery, and at times maybe an escape from that, maybe like a punk club in this case, in the case of this movie. The acting really should show the ups and downs of it all. Annette Bening, great. Yeah, this is like the Annette Bening I want to see. Just great subtlety. Just less is more type of acting. This is a really great performance by her. And I really don't see why she wasn't nominated. But from what I've seen of the Best Actress in the Leading Role nominations of this year, that's pretty hard to beat. I mean, fucking Meryl Streep, man. Like, get the fuck out of here. Greta Gerwig, like I said. Better version of Lena Dunham. But here's the thing. Because she's technically like the better version of Lena Dunham, she's always been a very much so, she was always typecasted as this quirky millennial. She's Frances Ha. She's like in Mistress America, mostly like Noah Baumbach movies, but like in other films too. Like she's always the quirky millennial character, and it never really goes deeper enough. The screenplay was always good enough for her to seem, substantial and in depth, but if you really look at it, the acting's really not there, and she always needed that dramatic push that would make her much more of a dramatic actress, and I feel like this is where it happens. She kind of breaks her typecasting here, and it's really impressive. Like, there are genuine moments where she looks like shit. She looks so miserable, and it's great acting. It's so miserable, but it's so good. And fucking Elle Fanning, I thought this was gonna be the movie where she's gonna suck. Finally, this chick who's like we're like 3 months apart, and she's already out there making movies with Nicholas Winding Refn. She's already made a film with David Fincher, even though it was like a really small role. She's gonna be like the Jodie Foster of our generation or something. From what I've seen so far, she's way too fucking good. And I hope that this was gonna be that fucking performance where it's just gonna be so pretentious. It's just gonna be that generic, oh, I smoke, I read Kafka or something, I'm a feminist, and, you know, the female orgasm, the clitoris, and whatnot, and all that shit. I thought that was gonna be this performance, but there's way more than that here, and I hate her because she's so good. God damn. Billy Crudup's okay. He's fine. The boy's pretty impressive at times, but I feel like most of the time he really just hits a single note again and again and again. And although his character arc is impressive, the acting is really just kind of one note. Rebellious, and I know what I'm talking about. And even till the end, you know, he doesn't really change that much, which seems to be like the emphasis of the film. You know, we don't really change. So overall, acting great, theme thought-provoking, filmmaking-wise amazing. Here's my problem with the movie, and I'm not gonna say that the film is terrible. It's just that this one problem really makes the film lack a very small thing that I feel like is really essential for the film to be good. The theme of the film, like I said, you know, the misery and confusion of life. In many cases, themes like this don't really have a conclusion to it because it's kind of this everlasting problem. It's gonna be a problem that's gonna be very relevant even like a fucking century from now. Even to 500 years from now, everybody's gonna still be talking about the meaning of life and how miserable we are. It's such a deep topic and such a, you know, such a answerless topic that if you make this into a film, there's always going to be a lack of an ending, a lack of a satisfying conclusion. And although in most cases that should be the point, and this, when it comes to films, when you have a very unsatisfying ending, and when the film is just so filled with rich characters and funny dialogue and all that, and like this raucous music, it kind of has a lackluster feeling to it. So throughout the film, it really is less of a story. There's no real story going on here. It's more of a character exploration. It's definitely more of a character arc type of a movie. And it jumps around a lot without being a complete story. At times, there are certain moments where it just seems really pointless. There's this, like, scene where they have there's a pregnancy scare scene. And I'm not sure what the point of that scene was. I'm not sure if it really adds anything to it. I can see how it might add to it. I just didn't really see the point of it. Like, oh, she might be pregnant. Ooh, you know, it doesn't really add anything to me, at least in my point of view. So, a lot of the film is not really that focused. It has so many things going on in it that at times it kind of loses its edge. It loses its like I said, it loses focus, and the ending is very. I kind of wanted more. That's the best I could say. But, you know, if Mike Mills really focuses more, and if he really tackles these big themes, because this is a pretty fucking deep idea here. If he really focuses more, if he, like, tightens up the story and the arcs and the characters and the dialogue, if he does that, he's gonna make a great movie. I can guarantee that. His next movie is gonna be, like, one of those, like, overly Oscar-nominated films of all time, and I can really see that that next movie's gonna like win Best Original Screenplay or whatever. But this film's okay. This film's still really good, and I feel like anybody who watches it they'll get something out of it. Like I said, it's a very personal movie. It's a very funny film at the same time. So yeah, give it a try, man. 20th Century Woman. 3.5 out of 4. That seems like the right rating. That was the review. Go do something worthwhile. God damn it. Bye.